morning, everyone, or good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Talking Horses. Excuse me, Anthony Stabile and Andy Serling, as we hit the final week here at Aqueduct on a Thursday, 8-race card today as well as tomorrow. We are fast and we are firm. We'll start out on the turf today, and we'll head over to Naira Bets, start things off. Head on over, you get that free $25 Derby bet, plus a $200 sign-up bonus. Use the promo code Derby25. Obviously, you have about 9 or 10 days to do that as the Derby's coming up. Just 9 days from today. It'll actually be drawn on Monday. The Oaks and Derby cards both be drawn this coming Monday. And we have America's Day at the Races. We'll be showing it from 1 to 5:30, covering all the action from here at Aqueduct. And we start at the turf, and it feels like in a lot of cases, a lot of old friends getting together, these New York breds who have met before. And New Guinea did something she's done very rarely, which is win a race last time. And I thought we'd go back and take a look at a race where she finished second to what love looks like coming off a layup for Todd Pletcher. Two horses that are obvious contenders.
Yeah, the 4-race seconditis streak snapped last time. Here she is back at Saratoga on closing weekend, maybe even closing day. Just missing to What Love Looks Like. So What Love Looks Like makes her second start off the first start off the layoff, but New Guinea has the recency. Just 3 weeks ago, got out of that A other than condition. So we'll see how she handles the step up in class now. She looked different from 3 to 4, Andy. She kind of finished the job last time. It was her first start in 5 months, and I don't know, figure was pretty much the same, but it was her first start off a layoff. And here's a number for Todd Pletcher.
His numbers coming off of. Excuse me, a frog in my throat here, 4 to 8 month layoffs. We like to show these stats, these horses coming off these roughly 6 month layoffs in turf routes. They often seem to need a race. And I mean, both these horses are fine. New Guinea didn't do any better last time than she ever does. She just got the right trip against a weaker field. A lot of 3-year-olds in that race, newly turned 3-year-olds. And she did get it done, which I guess is better in cap. But we've both taken this horse, and we'll show Sonura winning a synthetic race at Gulfstream. I'll let you talk about her.
So, yeah. She's run once on the grass, and the grass race was over 2 years ago at this point. She's been tough to keep on the racetrack for Barclay Tagg. Her poly-track races at Gulfstream have been much faster. She's just a different horse now, you would imagine. The blinkers have seemed to help. She's 5. Like I said, she debuted as a 3-year-old early in the 3-year-old year, and she's got plenty of turf pedigree, half to multiple winners, and she's just supposed to take back to the grass. And the truth of the matter is, again, she's just a different horse, I think, from her first start. She had almost a year between her first and second starts, and then again, from her prior start to last time, over a year. So obviously been hard to keep on the racetrack, but she makes a lot of sense in here.
She's a Joe Obvious horse with a big pedigree. The Dam was a multiple winner in the turf. She ran 19 times on grass with 4 wins, 4 seconds, and 5 thirds, and won over $350,000. Produced 2 for 2. And also the one turf race she ran, she broke from a far outside post. She broke 2 lengths behind the field. She was 3 to 4 wide in the first turn, on the rail in the second turn, but she really had no chance against that field. And just seems like, as Anthony said, a better horse since then, and she's probably on the right surface. The problem with her is that she's 6 to 5 now.
Right.
And everybody's going to like her in here. And one of the reasons they like her is that Home for Christmas is a horse that only gets perfect trip once they win. And in general, you've got a bunch of New York breds that are just kind of okay. They seem to run the same race every time, and Sonura might just be a better horse, but unfortunately we'll be taking a short price to find out. Race number 2, we're going 7 furlongs on the dirt. And you have In Traffic on top.
Yeah, I went to In Traffic. I want a little bit of a price in here. I didn't trust Affalata or Amanda's Folly. Amanda's Folly, when she got in the maiden ranks, beat Katie Cakes. Affalata beat probably a worse field than Katie Cakes, one of the probably 3 worst fields we raced here this winter. So it was hard for me to take short prices on both of them. I wound up with In Traffic, cutting back 7/8, gets a rider upgrade to Jose Ortiz, second off a 2-month break. Kind of found the right level last time. Broke the maiden for 30 on the circuit, dropped to the bottom. This is the bottom for the 2 life. She makes a lot of sense. Both Freudian and April Antics have come back to win out of that race. I just think a little less distance to rider upgrade. She makes some sense. And she's going to be, I don't think she'll be the 5-1 because I find it hard to believe that the public is going to gravitate that strongly to both Affalata and Amanda's Folly just based on what I said. I'll take 7-2.
Well, I tend to think that David Aragona's lines are usually pretty close to right. She ran the second best race last time. She's not going to win if she runs like April Antics, who beat one of the worst fields actually in racing. I'll take a look at Amanda's Folly's race. I think it's 3 back when she broke her maiden. She finished behind Maggie T 2 back, and Maggie T is running again, I think, tomorrow, and she seems like a very big contender after she ran very big for Linda. She's run better races. I mean, I don't really think it's rocket science. She's just run the best races of anybody in here, and she's the horse to beat. There's really not much to say about her otherwise. Ran the turf. She's obviously not a turf horse, so she's back on a surface that her prior 2 races, the 2 races she ran for Carlos Martin, are better than these. In Traffic ran okay last time, did run the second best race, but it was against a very, very bad field, and Freudian has been a very, very different horse in her recent efforts, especially the other day. I'm not a big Affalata fan either, but I actually thought she ran okay last time and better than she ran the time before that. And maybe she's a horse that's improving for Linda Rice, and she really hasn't been in Linda's barn that long, and maybe she's getting better for her. We're back on the turf in race number 3, going 6 furlongs, and we'll start with Sweet Lou's Got Aces, a horse I have on top. We'll take a look at her winning the Tempted. You know, the interesting thing about her is I'm not sure she's not a better turf sprinter. I thought she ran very well in that Candle race. That was a big, big figure. She and Candle finished way ahead of the field. And, okay, she got caught up in a quick pace in her first race at Gulfstream. And, I mean, I don't know why Javier Castellano rated her last time. Ray Handel said that was not the intention. And he rated her coming out of the gate. She obviously had no chance. I know she had an outside post, but they crawled up front and made no attempt for the lead. She's pretty good. She gets back to a track she's run well on, and I just think she's too good for these horses.
Okay. I know she has excuses in her last 2. But there's also a chance she just did not improve from 2 to 3. And you want to find out what her cutting back, that's fine. She gets Lasix for the first time. She's back to a turf sprint, coming out of 3 consecutive stakes races. I'm not sold. So I went to Love Appeals, the Christophe Clement
I just want to show
shipper.
the Love Appeals replay, even though I had it third.
Cuts back from the 2 quote-unquote 7.5 furlong races at Gulfstream Park. They really play like a mile because they're around 2 turns and not turf sprint. She'll cut back to a natural turf sprint. I don't know. I didn't really prefer anybody else in here. I didn't want to take Sweet Lou's Got Aces. I was kind of surprised that Love Appeals was shorter on the line than Sweet Lou's Got Aces, but I guess she'll be shorter. There'll probably be a coin flip by the time post time comes. Again, I'm just not sold. Sweet Lou's Got Aces took the step forward, and if she didn't, I really don't know where else to go in here besides the filly who improved from start 1 to start 2, and I'm hoping it's just the same or maybe a little better with less distance.
The races in Florida were 2 months after her prior races. I'm not sure how you can say she didn't take a step forward. They were basically the same time period. As far as Love Appeals, we'll see if she's a turf sprinter. As you say, she ran races that were closer to routes in her first 2 starts.
Who didn't take a step forward? Sweet Lou's Got Aces?
Yeah, which ran
her 2-year-old figures are...
She ran 2 months after those races, Anthony. You're acting as though she came back 6 months later.
She ran
2 months later.
right,
Yes, yeah.
and she just.
Well, one of them she got a preposterous ride and a preposterous trip, and the other one she got involved in a pretty heated pace that came apart in the late stages. So she had legitimate excuses, and racehorses have been running well. We disagree. It's fine. Georgie Spirit. Take a look at Georgie Spirit in the Stuart Manor, where she ran 3rd. Now, she did get a very, very good trip in this race on the inside, but she has shown to be a proficient turf sprinter, and I don't think she's totally impossible. The numbers for... I'm sorry, I'm looking at something else completely. We'll see. I didn't think she was impossible in here. She ran against some better horses, and she's probably better sprinting. I mean, her 2 sprints are clearly better than her routes.
Yeah.
But she had a very good trip in here. Maybe those horses are a little better than these.
You know, I'm curious to see how the first-time turfers take in here. Namely, Fabulously Funny, because there's not a ton of speed in this race. And I would not be surprised if Fabulously Funny... See, I don't know what Sweet Lou's Got Aces is going to do cutting back to the turf sprint. I don't know if she has sprint speed. I think there's a chance Fabulously Funny could be forward in here, and I think it makes her a little interesting. She's a practical joke. The dam was 0 for 1 on the grass. She just won once from 11 tries. But I don't know. Maybe if Kendrick's a little aggressive and...
Well, she has no turf pedigree. The horse who has turf pedigree is the 7,
The bottom
Senior
horse.
Crank, whose dam side's very, very strong. The dam ran a 94 buyer and $390,000. She won $390,000 the first foal for her, and she's probably the dangerous one to be a first-time turfer, and that's why I put her second, because I didn't think any of them were that good. We'll see. We have a difference of opinion.
Dam
in
won
race
the
3.
Pebbles and the De La Rose from
Race number
19
4,
tries.
Be Up. We'll take a look at Be Up running the last turf race, or second to last turf race Horse is going to be a short price, but I'm not trying to beat this horse. I don't
No,
think you are either.
me either. I tried. I really wanted to make a stronger case for 40 Smooth, who I put second here as a little bit of a look, but I couldn't make a case for B Up. One of the things I talk about with the turf horses is the recency, and B Up has been in training, having run down at Turfway Park most of the winter. One start at the fairgrounds as well, but yeah, I mean, she has a lot of races on her card.
The last race was terrible, though. Isn't that a little?
Yeah,
bit
it's
of
a little
concern?
bit. I mean, it's a little concerning. But this horse is, the all-weather form. That it's almost like the 15th, the race on the March 15th was the outlier. Her other two races are abysmal on the all-weather. So I don't know.
Well, that's not completely true, is it? I guess it is.
Those
But
other
she
two
ran
races
that
are
race.
terrible, Andy.
So
What
what
she
is the
did,
case?
I don't know.
What is
I'm
the
just
40
hoping getting
Smooth
back to the
case
grass.
that you're talking about?
I just like 40 Smooth getting back. She had the race off the layoff last time, the dirt sprint. It certainly looked like a race that, even though she's had some success on the dirt, she's more of a distance horse. It certainly looked like Bruce gave her a race sprinting against much tougher, and now she finds she's in where she belongs. She's in for a quarter on the grass. I thought she had some decent enough grass races. I wasn't thrilled with anybody else in here. She's going to be a square enough price. I mean, you got some shippers in here. You got Aaron's Enthusiasm coming in, Lenny Kate coming back from Gulfstream Park. I don't love their form, and they're going to be considerably shorter, I would imagine. The Jamie Ness factor with Aaron's Enthusiasm and Lenny Cates, has some familiarity to the circuit. I don't know. I thought 40 Smooth might be a little bit of a decent price here, and she's going to be forward, I would imagine.
I'm going to use. I'm really not against the 9. I thought Lenny Kate and Aaron's Enthusiasm were the logical 2 horses behind her in there, but I didn't want to spend a lot of time trying to beat B Up. Thought she'd be a
Right.
short price, and
Yeah.
to me, I just wasn't that interested. The others, the late pick 4 after a quick break.
Born in the foothills of the Adirondacks over 150 years ago, the Saratoga brand has become synonymous with quality. Carefully crafted spring water. Each stunning blue glass bottle is created with the same attention to detail and care that has been the Saratoga hallmark for generations. So open a bottle, take a sip, and savor the Saratoga experience. Saratoga, an American classic that's always in good taste. Make every day exquisite.
Welcome back to Talking Horses. Anthony and Andy, as we hit the late pick 4 in race 5. Thought it was an interesting maiden race. Now, obviously, Freud Me In. Take a look at his debut. He ran very well that day. It was a track that was very kind to affordably priced runners, and he's the horse to beat. I just worry a little bit about horses that are cranked up for their debuts, and if they're going to come back in their next start and run as well. And I think that's the concern. That's why I put him second.
Okay. It's a solid concern. One of these firsters, I would imagine, is going to have to step up considerably to beat this horse's effort. He was going 6.5 first time out. He already dealt with drawing the inside post, which he does again today. I wasn't going to take too much time trying to beat him. I mean, again, one of the to me, anything that's run so far, I don't want anything that's run. I filled it out with 3 first-time starters underneath. I don't want the rest of the runners for a dime in here. And if he comes back to his debut, he's going to dust these horses, unless one of these firsters comes up and runs a big race.
Yeah, I don't. I look at races differently than you, and I think it's important to take note of the races some of them have run in here. There also could be a little bit of pace in here as well. And I think Pop Coyer is a horse, and I want to give one more chance at a price. You look at Pop Coyer. Horse came back off a trainer switch and a layoff, a 6-month layoff for all intents and purposes, and was dueling outside in a gold rail. And the horse that won was on the rail before angling out. The horse that finished second there was on the rail. Then caught a muddy sealed track and was sort of out of it, chasing on the outside. Then went to the turf and now gets back to the dirt. And I think the horse ran fine first time coming back. Now is it quite good enough to beat the favorite? No. The favorite's going to have to take a step back and he's going to have to run a better race. But I think when you put in the bias that he ran against in his one dry track dirt race, I think it makes him a little bit interesting, and he's going to be a big price, so I don't mind taking a chance. As far as the first-time starters here, what is it about Prix West, who has a big turf pedigree, not a dirt
The Mott
pedigree?
firsters have been running well. He's debuting this. Now, this is an old-school Mott move. He used to debut a lot of his turf horses on the dirt. But this horse is a solid enough work tab, both at Gulfstream Park and here on the training track at Belmont, that I want to give. Like I said, I'm not thrilled with anything I've seen run before. The 11 Fayette Joker. Dam's thrown a lot of a few winners. True Charm, Macho Boy, multiple winners who were fast early. Got a 47 breeze out of the gate, 2 breezes back. I like the breeze from the gate and then the breeze from the pole before the debut. So I thought the firsters were the interesting ones and the threats to Freud me in.
The number 8 Golden Arm interests me a little bit, going out for Horacio de Paz, who can be a dangerous trainer. Jose Ortiz riding this one. The 8 and 11 are the firsters I use, but I'm going to try to beat the 2, who will be an overwhelming favorite with the 10 Pop Coyer. Race number 6. We'll take a look at Jake Rox's last race, a horse you have on top.
Yeah, I'm not going to get in the way of the train. He had a little bit of a trip, in my opinion, 2 starts back. He got steadied going into the far turn. And obviously, he wouldn't have been eligible for the 8 of it then, but that's what stopped a 4-race win streak, and he got back on the train last time. He has turned into a horse that did nothing but want to get beat, into a horse that does nothing but want to win. And, Rob Actress has success because of this. Claims the horse for a quarter at the end of last year. He's run him 4 times, 3 wins and a near miss. And now he's in for 40. He'll probably get claimed today. And if he wins and gets claimed, he's made about $200,000 with this horse in 4 months. That's how you do it. 200,000 pays for 4 of them throughout the year.
The question to look at is, why did he run a faster race last time than he's ever run before? Because I do think you have to question whether or not he's a 7 furlong type horse. And 2 things happened. For that day, that was a relatively slow pace, and particularly the first quarter. But more importantly, it was a track that was very, very kind to forwardly placed horses throughout the day. So he got a moderate pace, going 7, and he had a track in his favor. Now, I don't know that he's necessarily any kind of layover whatsoever off any of his prior races. He's obviously the horse to be if he runs an 87 buyer, but in my opinion, based on a lot of circumstances, it's a dressed up number. Could he win? Sure he could. But I think at a short price, he's very vulnerable here. And for me, I want Nuclear Option. I want Jamie Ness off the claim. Jamie Ness, in the last, did I put this up?
Reclaim. And it's a reclaim, actually.
Jamie Ness' numbers off the claim are outrageous. He's claimed 493 horses over the last 5 years, virtually 2 a week. He's won with 32% of them with a $1.96 ROI, which is an amazing ROI when you consider they all take probably more money than theoretically they should. And this horse that's good enough to win this race anyway. So for my money, I will take this horse.
So I'm going to ask you one question about him, because I looked at him long and hard too, because he's probably going to be. He's the speed. He's the speed, right? He's faster than Jake Rox.
Or he'll sit outside of him. Jamie Ness had this horse before, and he did not do particularly well with him. He won that 125 beaten race with the Scary Fig. He ran a 90 buyer.
Yeah,
he ran
I know.
2 races on the turf.
I guess.
Let's see. Well, let's look at what he had. He ran a 78 buyer down at Laurel at 470 to 1, and then he ran a 90 buyer. So in his 2 dirt races, he ran a 78 and 90. I will beg to differ that he did fine with him.
Okay.
I thought a horse is a bit of a wild card is Milton the Monster, who's been terrible. George Weaver does not have great numbers off the claim. In fact, we'll show his good race 3 back, and then we'll show you the George Weaver stats. Is he a wet track horse? Is he just bad? I don't know.
Yeah, he really. I mean, that big race off the claim for Morley was. The Fig really improved. He ran that race where he showed more speed in December, and then he improved big time on the buyer scale. I don't know. I mean, maybe you could blame the Lasix and the toboggan, but I don't know what the excuse is for last time. He was your 2 to 1 favorite, and he just can't blame the wet track. It's the only time he's been off the board in 9 starts on the wet track.
Yeah, he does have back races good enough. He drops down. George Weaver doesn't claim a lot of horses. He doesn't have that much success with the ones he does. I'm looking at the ones on the dirt. Turf is sort of similar. He's 3 for 17 on the turf. He does have a better ROI on the turf, but that doesn't bode well particularly here. This is a good barn, but they don't have a lot of success, and he's just a very, very hard horse to trust. I'm going to use Think About It a little bit near. He took way too much money last time, probably because Joel Rosario rode him. But that was a track that was fair, but the race was dominated on the front end. The winner came back and ran remarkably well in a subsequent start against virtual stake horses compared to these. Ray Handel claims this horse back, and he may get a little pace to run at, so I'm looking at the 7 and a little 6 in here. You like Jake Rocks. Race number 7. We're on the turf going 6 furlongs, and we'll take a look at the horse that you on top. Vacation Dance, the 3-year-old facing Olders.
Yeah, you know, ordinarily, I like to gravitate to the older horses, but man, what has this horse done wrong? 2 wins. He went to the lead against Najarak, who came back to run a bang-up third in the Breeders' Cup, and then he came back and he won that Atlantic Beach as, to me, you know, like a nice horse. Gave him 1 shot on the dirt for the lucrative $500,000. He didn't run 2 steps. John puts him away, brings him back for this. I know he's running against older horses for the first time, and there are a couple of old pros in here, namely Ghost Giant and Battle Station. But I mean, this horse's form as a 2-year-old.
Okay, we disagree. His race that we just showed in the Atlantic Beach, he rode a very gold rail, so he had every bit the run of it. Listen, this horse still ran respectably well as a 2-year-old and could improve from 2 to 3.
Isn't he loose in here?
He's probably the speed. Whether or not that helps him, I don't know. I don't really worry about those things that often, especially when you're dealing with short prices. His races are okay. He's a little dressed up by the way the racetrack was playing in him. I'm not going to knock him. He's fine. He's run well. I don't want him as the favorite. And the truth is, we'll take a look at the race that a lot of them come out of, when Bar 14 and Frank's Art and Running with Scissors. And interestingly enough, probably the horse that ran the best race of all was Running with Scissors, because he's about the only horse that wasn't on the rail that day. So many horses on this race were on the rail and were able to angle out and just had absolutely perfect trips. Don't think it was a big rail day. I just thought they had the right trips in here, though frankly, the long shot, Bar 14, ran pretty well. The thing about Running with Scissors is I think some will look at him and say, well, he's regressed. Well, I'm not really sure how true that is. He got caught up in a ridiculously difficult race with an outside wide trip against the track, 2 back on the dirt. And last time, he was right down towards the rail, and the rail was dead that day. He wasn't right on it, but he spent a lot of time right down towards the inside. So I actually think he ran okay last time in a race that was wired. So I'm not sure his form is that bad. He's got dirt races good enough, turf races good enough to win it, and he's going to be a fair enough price in here. So he's the one that I went to in here. And I'll tell you something. Bar 14 has run some very fast races for a horse that's going to be at an enormous price in here. I'm not sure why I'm not supposed to use him. Frankly, he's in pretty good form, considering he's not even a dirt horse. He's a turf horse. And that race he ran that we just looked at, I know he got DQ'd, and justifiably so. He still ran well enough. He's run some very big figures in the past, and he's going to be too big a price for me to leave out. And the horse I don't like here at all is Frank's Art. He's just got very, very perfect lucky trips when he's done well. He's not impossible, but he's got good trips. But I think that Running with Scissors is very interesting. I think Bar 14 is interesting. Vacation Dan's not impossible, but I just think he's a very, very mediocre favorite running against some more accomplished older horses in here. When he's had the run of the race he's done well. Now, he may have the run of the race here as well. We'll see how he can do it against some old pros.
Yeah, I think the run of the race helps him. I think he's a horse that has a bright future, and I'm not as enamored with the rest of these as you seem to be.
Race number 8. Some scratches in race number 8. Not sure one of them are players or not. Thought I'd show Roll Again Dancer, who lost to Valenzende, who came back and lost to a horse that improved a lot to beat him here on the weekend. But he still ran back to his fig, claimed by Michelle Giangulio. Michelle does not have good numbers off the claim. She's just 3 for 28 off the claim on dirt with a 66-cent ROI. But still, he's obviously a very logical horse.
Yeah, I didn't like this horse today. I didn't like him at all. I don't know where that race came from last time. Taking a horse from Michelle Nevin. There's other speed in here. I was not a fan of his today, but he ran well last time. I just don't know where that race came from.
Well, he's had some excuses in some of his races. I liked him last time. It was a tough beat for him. He was outside. The rail was good, and he ran the race, and I think he was a horse that was dirtied up. So I'm far less surprised than you that he ran well. We'll take a look at Peros running third and Play with Matches, who was behind him in the last 3/8 of a mile. Peros is probably the horse to beat, but I'm a little interested in Playing with Matches, but I'll let you talk about Peros.
You know, I think they were just a little too aggressive with him last time. He was closer to the pace than he had been in his 2 prior starts, which resulted in much bigger figs. And I would imagine that Jose Ortiz, who's Talked to Jose Lascano this week. He's still recouping from the hand. Hopes to be back after the Derby. Yeah, I'm just hoping they revert to some of the tactics where he's a little further off the pace. You got Mama's Gold to show speed. You got Roll Again Dancer. So there's some pace in here. I'd imagine he's sitting third or fourth in here, and he's got the outside draw.
Well, Mama's Gold is loose. I mean, he's considerably faster than these horses. He's a pretty unreliable horse, to say the least. The one dressed up winning since the claim.
Yeah.
He's been an out-and-out disaster. I don't disagree. I think they did probably move too soon with him. He was a little wide. It was a fair track, but probably benefited being a little bit inside in there. It was a good field. Playing with Matches kind of got lost in that race. I didn't think he had any major trouble. He just kind of lost his position. He's a horse that can be more forward. Now, obviously, he can't be forward with Mama's Gold, but he can be a little bit more forward. He's second off a little bit of a freshening. I want to give him one more chance. He's got races. Couple races he's run are fast enough to give him a chance. I don't disagree about Paris. I want to use the two outside, and I just ended up taking the horse that's going to be a much, much better price after the scratches. Roll Again Dancer, I think, is a logical horse, but I'm going to prefer the outside horses. Bobby the Tank, not impossible. He's been running against better horses in his races. I didn't really see anybody else that I wanted in here.
Okay.
See what happens. That's today's card. Head on over to Naira Bets. We've still got the Derby bonus for you. You've got that through next Saturday, the Derby. Use the promo code Derby25. We'll give you a $25 Derby bet plus a $200 sign-up bonus. Head over to NairaBets.com. And finally, America's Day at the Races, 1 to 5:30, covering all the action from here. That'll be at FS2 today. And we're done. Chris Griffin coming up next with a reprise of the Scratches and Changes. Have a great day.
Born in the foothills of the Adirondacks over 150 years ago, the Saratoga brand has become synonymous with quality. Carefully crafted spring water. Each stunning blue glass bottle is created with the same attention to detail and care that has been the Saratoga hallmark for generations. So open a bottle, take a sip, and savor the Saratoga experience. Saratoga, an American classic that's always in good taste. Make every day exquisite.